If you've ever felt stuck trying to figure out what your niche is as a writer, you're not alone. In this video, we're going to explore 3 reasons why writers struggle with this. And I'm going to give you a few little tips on how to overcome these struggles. Genre is not niche. A lot of times writers think, well, I write romance, so that's my niche. Or I write cozy mysteries, so that's my niche. Or I write sci-fi. Or maybe you go a little farther than that. You say, I write fantasy romance, or I write urban fantasy. You get a little bit more defined in your genre and think that's going to do it for you. Unfortunately, this is a huge mistake. It's not enough to set you apart. There are still hundreds of thousands of authors writing in that genre. You need to get more detailed about how your fantasy or romance or sci-fi is different from other writers, from other stories that are fantasy, romance, or sci-fi. It's tempting to stop just as genre when you're trying to figure out what your niche is, but don't fall for that temptation. It's important to dig a lot deeper into your style, into the themes that are present in your story, and to your type of audience to clarify what makes your work stand out. The second reason why it's hard for a lot of writers to figure out what their niche is that they're afraid of excluding readers. All of us want our books to be great for everyone. Oh, this book, everyone's going to enjoy it, we think, but it's just not true. People have expectations of what they're going to get from the books that they buy. They buy certain books because they're looking for a certain type of experience. It's always better to narrow down who your audience is than to believe that your book is great for everybody. For example, if you write mysteries with a humorous twist, maybe, you may worry that if you market it as that, you'll lose readers who prefer darker mysteries. And that can feel counterintuitive to you because you want to find more readers. You don't want to restrict yourself, right? But this is just not the way the market works. And in truth, if you write mysteries with a humorous twist, people who like darker mysteries are probably not going to like your mysteries as much. If you try to push it and try to say that your work is for everyone, and some of those people come to your book thinking they're going to get a dark mystery and they get a mystery with a humorous twist, they're going to be disappointed. You could end up with disappointed readers, with bad reviews, with word of mouth that you don't want to read this because it's not the type of book that you thought it was going to be. You don't want to fall into those traps, and it's very easy to do that if your marketing isn't specific enough. Finding your niche and narrowing it down to the type of reader that's really going to enjoy your story, it's not going to limit you. It's going to help you find your ideal audience. Another reason why writers often find it difficult to come up with their niche is that they're not really sure who their audience is. I don't blame you if you're there, because this is one of the things that's hard for me to figure out as well. Who is really the audience for this book? For example, you may write fantasy, but not know whether your readers are drawn to epic world building, character-driven stories, or tales with a more modern twist. Do they want a lot of magic? Do they want fantastical creatures in there? Who is your ideal audience? And a lot of times what you need to do is look at your story specifically. For example, my historical fantasy combines ancient mythology with the history. So I know that people who like mythology in their story may like this story, but again, if they're looking for something that recreates just the myth, they may be disappointed, because in my book I'm combining the myth with the real history. I need a person who's going to appreciate both of those things in their story. So you see how we look at this with more detail, we can start to see who our ideal reader really is. So if your audience is feeling like this nebulous bunch of faceless people out there and you don't know who they are, there are some things you can do to try to make that clearer for yourself. The first one is simply to read through the feedback you've gotten on your stories so far. See what the readers like about your story. See what they point out about it that makes them enjoy it. If you haven't had people read it yet, try to get some beta readers even to read through the story and then ask them, okay, what stood out to you about this story? What did you really like about it? You can even get more specific and say, what were the genre elements that you liked about this story? And you can also look at other books that are like yours on the market and see what they're talking about, see what things they're bringing out about those stories. I would also suggest you just go to a bookstore and hang out in your section of the store. It's really interesting to hear people talk about the types of stories that they enjoy, and you can start to hear the kind of things they're talking about and realize what they're looking for, and you can start to get a better picture of who your audience really is. ask yourself this question as you're thinking about this part of your niche. Who do I want to write for? And what unique experience do my stories offer them? Brainstorm on that question for a while to help you narrow down what your niche really is. If you're struggling with coming up with a niche for your author platform, I've got a really fast and easy solution for you. I've created a new course that helps you discover your niche really quickly by simply inserting the right information into an easy formula. You can play with this formula once you have it until you find a niche that works for you. Once you have a niche, then it makes it easier to post on social media, makes it easier to blog, makes it easier to do podcast interviews. It makes it easier to do all of the marketing that you need to do around your book and to organically attract those readers who are going to really appreciate your stories. So for more information on that course, please see the link in the show notes. And meanwhile, give your niche a little thought and see what you might be able to come up with. I'll see you next time.